In this quick tips video, I look at some of the more important shortcuts all VR iRacers should map to their steering wheel, and with some extra tips along the way. And all from an older gamer's perspective. When you are in virtual reality, there isn't much of the real reality that you can actually see, even when peeping through the nose gap of your headset. The answer, at least in iRacing, as indeed in most sim racers, is to use the multitude of buttons on the steering wheel in order to access some of the more essential gaming commands. Which button you use for which purpose is very much a personal preference thing, but to give you a starting point, I'm going to outline my most used shortcuts that I use all the time in iRacing. Two must-have key bindings. While a number of the button mapping suggestions I have in this video have a subjective use, these first two should be mapped by every sim racer worth their salt. To follow along, load iRacing and start a test session. Once it's finished loading, click on the Options tab in the upper right of the interface. This opens on the Drive tab. This is handy as this is where the first key binding that we need lives. Look under the Control Assignments area, which is just here, and then click the mouse in the space next to Enter, Exit, Tow Car, and select a button on your wheel. This binds it to this command. I use this one here, down on the bottom right. Extra tip, if you are waiting to enter a practice session or you're prompted to go to the grid, instead of using your mouse to click on the green button at the top of the screen, you can just use this shortcut that you've bound to a button and it will do exactly the same thing. For the second essential VR key binding, click on the Control tab on the far right here. Then use the slider to move all the way along to the bottom of Replay Controls. Why it's in Replay Controls I don't know, but that's where it lives. Here you will find Recenter HMD. This puts you in the driver's seat with hopefully the correct viewpoint. Again, click on the area to the right of the text, then select your wheel button that you wish to bind to this command. I chose the upper right corner as it's easy to find. Extra tip, if after you have centered your HMD, you still find that you are too low or too high in the seat, for your personal preference, enter the car using the practice button or hit the new key binding to do the same. Then, when in the car, use the left and right arrows on the black box until you get to graphic adjustment. Here you can adjust the driver height and fine-tune your position. If this is something you find yourself doing a lot, you can also set up a key binding to do the same thing here. Moving black boxes. iRacing black boxes are a form of overlays that most VR users have instead of something like RaceLab overlays. They aren't as good, but they are usable. But they are often in the driver's view line. To move these boxes around is very simple in VR. You just need one keybind. To find this key binding, go to the Options panel again and then the Control tab. Then scroll down until you find Toggle UI Edit. It's right here. It's hidden in the middle between Virtual Mirror and Weather Radar. It's very easy to find. Okay, again, click to the right of that and select the button that you want to use to bind to this command. Now I have one here on my wheel so it's out of the way and I don't accidentally hit it and toggle the UI Edit on mid-race. Now when you hit this key, you will be able to move all of the boxes around to your heart's content. Don't forget, after you've finished moving everything around and you've got it perfectly aligned to what you needed, toggle the UI Edit off again using the same key binding. Otherwise you could accidentally move these boxes around in mid-race. Extra tip, if after altering the Quest settings in the PC app, the black boxes again are either too big or too small for you, they can be changed globally using the UI Zoom command, which is found in the Graphics tab of the Options menu. Here you can reduce it or increase it depending on your needs. There isn't a key binding available for this particular command, unfortunately, so you just need to try it and then see what it looks like. It's a suck it and see situation. Using the black boxes. Now that you have the black boxes where you want them, and hopefully the size you want them, you need to set up some shortcuts to actually control them. Again, in the options panel and on the control tab, scroll down until you see the black box section. I have kept my setup relatively simple, and I'm using the gamepad-like control on my Mozza wheel to access the various black boxes I need to use in a race. The up pad control is set to display my lap time. I use this in qualifying, and also I quickly flick to it in mid-race just to see how much remaining time there is in the race. The down pad control is used to display the relative black box, which is the main black box I need during a race. Left and right pad controls are for the previous and next, which allows me to scroll through to any other box I might need to access. Extra tip, if you need to look at the tyre info or the fuel left in your car, you can use the left and right gamepad for this instead. Tear off visor. This is another essential key binding if you are a regular user of open wheel cars. If you have spent any time racing, you know that the visor gets dirty really quickly, especially if you are prone to some off-track action or you spend time breathing in the fumes from another Formula V. To get around the issue of obscured vision, add a key binding. I use this button here as it's easy to find and something I can do without too much distraction. You can add it from the options panel, go to control, and it's here in in-car systems. Tear off visor. Extra tip, if you are driving a car without wipers, this option will be greyed out, but you can still set a shortcut binding for it anyway. Second clutch button. If you don't have a secondary clutch pedal on your wheel, then you can use this key binding to create one to bind a clutch button on your wheel. I have this set to a button here. This is easy for me to access with my thumb while leaving my hands free to change gear via the pedals. Why would I want to do this? Well, here I am in the Formula V on the grid waiting for the green light. When I see the red light, I hold down the second clutch button and engage first gear, and I bring the revs up to about halfway. The moment I see the green light, I can release the second clutch button and the V launches away. It's quite spectacular. Extra tip, when in road cars such as the MX-5, I find the clutch button offers a quicker gear change than auto blip. I often use it when I'm trying to catch someone up or trying to stay ahead of somebody, and I think I can gain a few milliseconds when I change gear like this. It's probably mostly psychological, but hey, everything helps, right? Communication. In iRacing, communication is often via the radio. To bind this, go to the sound section in the options panel and bind it to the button of your choice. I have the radio button set up as push to talk for communication. It's big and easy to find, and because it has radio written on it, I find using this button to be more immersive, even though I can't actually see it while in VR. You can also set binds for volume level and also a bind for muting the other drivers if you're in one of those splits where they're all just a bit too chatty. I don't have this enabled as I just like to take the rough with the smooth when it comes to iRacing radio chatter. Extra tip, if you are not convinced that your messages are getting through on the radio and maybe someone has muted you, then you can add some text chat options to your key binding. Go to the option tab and there you can find the auto text. I have pitting in set for this button and thanks with an exclamation mark set to this one, so I can send something ironic to those drivers who have dive bombing on their to-do list for every single race. Conclusions. Of course, remembering which button does what will require some muscle memory, but this effort is worthwhile. And although this is by no means a definitive list of key bindings, they are the ones I regard as essential for VR iRacers. However, if you poke around in the options of iRacing, you will find a few more that may also work for you. If you have some interesting or essential key bindings that you use in the game, let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, I hope you found this video helpful, and until the next one, race clean, and I will see you on track. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe. Click the little bell icon if you want to be notified of any future videos.